Hi everyone. Tonight I'm going to be going over how I would handle a role as a therapist in a family session. Each of these sessions is going to take 3 segments. So I'm going to begin with the first segment. In segment 1, I am going to be discussing how I would introduce our first meeting, as well as the layout and how I would approach our goals and the structure of starting this journey with my clients, and how to gain that sense of rapport and trust with them. Hi, my name is Lauren, and I will be your family social worker for these sessions. It has come to my attention from your case files that you are here for issues that you have to resolve in your family structure and the rules within your family. So I would like to give each of you a chance to introduce yourselves. I'd like your name, and I would like your age, how old you are, and a little bit about yourself, just so that I can get to know you. During this time, I would be allowing my clients to introduce themselves, tell me about themselves, and give me their age. I then would go ahead and give a little bit about me, and then I would introduce, the statement of confidentiality, and that everything that we say and do will be kept in the room of these sessions. The only time that I will be allowed to discuss anything further with others outside of our sessions is if you say that you're going to harm yourself or others. I would then ask them if they understand that or if they have any questions. And if they do have any questions, I would respond as needed to those. Next step that I would take after going over confidentiality is to, like I said, allow them to give me their idea or their perspective of what the issue is on hand. So each client would then go one by one. I would ask them, what do you see the issue being? And how do you see yourself resolving that? So I would open that booklet up to them and open that session up to them to discuss those with me in a safe place. Following that into segment 2, going over a little bit of how they would or how I would break up any kind of argument or disruptive behaviors or even interrupting or bickering between the family members. So in this case, let's just say that my mother and father are bickering with each other on the topic of something that the child stated seeing the issue being. Maybe the issue was being home at a certain time for curfew. So the child stated why they feel that they don't need a curfew or why they feel their curfew should be extended later into the evening. And then the bickering began between the husband and the wife within that family. So I would state, directed toward the husband and wife, I would face them and I would state to them, I understand that you feel frustrated given the response of your son or daughter. And I would like you to use I statements of how that makes you feel versus putting blame or bickering upon another party within this session. So then I would pause them. I would ask them to take a step back. I would ask them to look at it from the outside, and I would ask them to, like I said, use I statements. So I feel that XYZ. So I feel that this is a issue for me because it keeps me up late wondering when you're going to come home. Or, if they would be stating between each other that one agrees with the child that curfew should be extended and the other does not, I would state, I understand that you don't agree with your husband and or wife, or vice versa. I agree that you don't agree with your husband and or wife, but we need to continue on and use I statements of how that makes us feel rather than saying, you are not on my side. You are not seeing it the way that I am seeing it. You are not following my footsteps. I am feeling that we are not seeing things on the same page and that we need to reevaluate and get onto the same page and maybe come to a compromise and come to a middle ground of what and where we can both have our needs met. Another thing that I would ask them is, what what do you see that you need to come from this? So, how do you see this impacting you? I cannot fall asleep at night because my child is still out at midnight. Um, I wake up in the middle of the night and worry that they are not home. It is impacting my sleep schedule. It is impacting my work life the next day. Something along those lines. I would ask them their needs. So I need to know that you are safe. So maybe a solution for that is a text message. Hey, mom and dad, or hey, parent or guardian, I am staying XYZ, wherever they're staying. I plan to be here till 1 o'clock in the morning. Something along those lines to have their needs be met so they don't have to worry, and giving them that sense of control that this is what I need and this is how I need it to be done, and giving it that each party is given an opportunity in that situation. And for the third segment, how would I end the session, including any homework that I might send home for them, and any other goals that they might have to set for themselves. So again, I would ask them, how do you see yourself fixing this issue? What do you see happening? What do you hope to get from this? So I would base my goals off of that. So I would say, okay, you're not texting mom and dad that you're out until 1 o'clock in the morning, or you're falling asleep and you're not responding to them. Okay, let's start with texting them at the beginning of the night. Mom and dad, I plan on staying out until 2 in the morning. Then they know, okay, if she or he, daughter or son, is not home by 2 in the morning, then we can worry. Then we can take steps in calling or texting or finding where their child is. And some of the homework that I might send home for them outside of that is working on their communication with one another. So a lot of the issues that have arisen in my experience with families is communication and loss of communication somewhere along the way. So I would take them and have them sit down and work on their communication with one another. I would begin this in my next session between myself and them as a mediator, and I would ask them to have a conversation with one another of, facing mom, this is what I feel the issue is, or facing dad, this is what I feel the issue is, and vice versa. And I would have them have a conversation with one another. And if that bickering becomes an issue, I would jump in, ask them to step back, and use those iMessages. In order to end the sessions, if I was ending just the first session as our assignment is, I would just say, okay, so we're going to come up with a SMART goal, which is a timely goal that is measurable, that we can complete, and it's realistic. It's not something that is going to be rainbows and butterflies and fix everything perfectly. So I would discuss to them, okay, what is the goal that you think we can address this first? What is something small that we would all be able to reach come our next session in, let's say, 2 weeks? So what's something that we can look at together for the next 2 weeks? So a goal that they might say is, I will text my parents and let them know that I am going to be staying out. Or I will set an alarm to just be sure that I'm home. So I would set an alarm, say 15 minutes before my curfew or 20 minutes before my curfew to give me enough time to get home. So I'd set that alarm so that it reminds me, hey, I need to be home at this time in order to keep my parents from panicking and worrying about where I'm at and my well-being. So those are goals that are timely, that are measurable, and it can be realistic and achieved and completed. If it was my last session, I would, congratulate them on the strengths that they have built and in the steps that they've overcome. And that's also something that I'm going to use throughout my sessions, not just at the beginning, not at the middle, at the end, but all together. Is look at the strengths that they have. So you have a cell phone. Everyone has a cell phone. So you're able to communicate with everyone. So, there should not be that communication barrier between where you're at, where you're going, what's happening, kind of keeping them on the same track of like what is going on in their life. So that is how I would address my first session. If I was working with a child that, might have other scenarios going on within their family, maybe a child that doesn't or isn't capable of verbalizing what is going on in their life, I would, and something that I have done before in my practice is give them a piece of paper and some crayons or pencils or markers, whatever. And I'd sit them down and something that I do at the beginning of my sessions is I ask them to draw me a picture of their family. And this will be a surprise to you. Sometimes you'll get a picture and like say, this is my paper, and son and dad are over here playing football or catching baseball, doing something together, and they're together. Then there's the house, and then you have mom over here who's very ostracized from the family and away from the family and kind of drawn to the other side of the paper. And that would kind of be a sign to me that, okay, maybe there's a little bit of tension revolving around mom. Or maybe you would see mom and dad on the complete opposite sides of the paper and the children in the middle, and maybe mom and dad are bickering and not getting along. Or maybe they would even draw a picture of mom and dad arguing with each other. So a lot of things come from drawings with children. So that was something else that I'd like to mention and something that I would use to build that trust with that child in order to get a better insight of what's going on. So thank you for listening and take care.